Hey, what's up? Lightboltjoe here. Today we are going to discuss the 2019 amazing, glorious, beautiful film, Little Women. This is adapted for screenplay by Greta Gerwig. She directed this as well. This is based on Louisa May Alcott's incredible story, which I have yet to read. This is the third version of Little Women I'm familiar with. The '05 Broadway musical, the '94 film, and now the 2019 film. So eventually, I need to read the original book and its three sequels. Technically, the story that we all know and love is the first two books, and then there's a third and a fourth. So eventually, I want the full set. I'm going to read it, and I'm curious how the book is because this particular version, there's a lot of back and forth between past and present, 1860s to 1880s, back and forth, back and forth. So I'm curious. Well, 1860s to 1870s. It's a 10-year chunk of things. It's interesting watching it from a different perspective because the first 12 minutes is Joe in New York trying to sell her story to the Volcano Press, the weekly Volcano Press. Getting into the papers, at the boarding house with Frederick, the German professor, him giving her Shakespeare, like all the wonderful iconic moments are there future wise, but in the first 12 minutes. And then we backtrack to the 1860s when the Civil War is going on. The March Father is off, doing his missionary stuff in the South for the Union's sake, right? Because that was the Civil War time. And so it's just interesting watching it from a different different directive. I am not one for back and forth storytelling. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work. It works. It works very well. I love what Greta did. Greta is amazing. And it's very cool having her work with the same actors as well. Swore is the, I forget her last name. She was was she in Midsummer? Lady Bird? I think she was in Lady Bird, right? That was a Greta Gerwig project. And then I think, what was the thing I just read? She emailed Greta and said, "I am your Joe." And then that's a very Joe thing to say, very Josephine March thing to say. And Greta replied with, "Yes, you are." So that's how she got the role, which is just so cool. Emma Stone is in this. Timothy Chalamet is in this. Florence Pugh is in this. She plays Amy. There's just the iconic scenes. Amy falling through the ice. Is there. The scene at the sea was in this version, but it wasn't in the '94 version. But it's in the Broadway musical version. So it was neat having that come together because I forgot I missed that in the '94 version watching it. So it's great. Meryl Streep is Aunt March. You have Laura Dern is Marmee. It's great seeing these characters. It's great having more of Mr. Lawrence as a figure in this because in the '94 version, in the Broadway version, he doesn't have that much of a influence in like the story and stuff like that. There's a beautiful moment of him and Beth, beautiful moment of him and his grandson Laurie, beautiful moment of him and Joe after Beth's passing. And Beth passing, bro, I said this in the last review, kills me every time. Doesn't matter what version I see. Beth's passing is so hard to watch because you know this character, you love this character, and you know that she dies and the story continues on. What happens next? And it's just so sad. And it's so sad, but Beth gives that whole, there's one certainty in life and it's death kind of a thing after birth. It's wild watching this. I said this in the '94 review that we did. When you watch this story, when you watch the sisters, when you watch Joe, Beth, Amy, and Meg do their thing, right? Celebrate Christmas on various occasions, string their popcorn and things. When you watch them do their thing, when you watch Joe and Laurie fool around, just being friends and loving each other, but not in love. Well, Joe's not in love with Laurie and things, right? Coming to terms with that platonic friendship. When you watch these characters do their things, it's a sense of home because you know these characters. They're the same characters in any iteration, and you know them, and you know what happens next, and you still root for them, but you still laugh when they laugh, and you cry when they cry, and you feel their pain, you feel their joy. It's amazing watching this because, and I said this the last time we just talked about this too. It gives a sense of home. It gives a sense of security. It gives a sense of stability. It gives a sense of home. It gives a sense of warmth. gives a sense of not nostalgia, but it gives a sense of home. And I don't know how else to explain Little Women. For me, it just gives a sense of home. Watching these characters struggle with being a woman in that time period, watching women struggle now being a woman in this time period now, comparative to the 1860s, 1870s, 1880s, vastly different, but struggle is a struggle. And to have that thrown in speech that Amy gives, where a woman, when she marries, is her husband's property, she has no money, it's her husband's money. Any kids that she produces are her husband's kids. The woman is no longer herself. The woman is forevermore somebody else's. And it was a very interesting speech that obviously has not been in any other iteration, but it was like a throwaway thing that what was it? What did I just read? Meryl Streep had suggested it to Greta Gerwig, giving modern audiences a means of understanding where these characters are coming from. Those of us who are not familiar, those of them who are not familiar with the Little Woman story. And it was what did Florence say? Something with, it was like the words were like handed to her on like a scrap piece of paper like minutes before they were going to shoot the scene. I was like, bro, that's awesome. That's so awesome. But it's just cool having the modern influence thrown into effect to bring into assimilation to modern society, but showing this struggle. The struggle is real to be female then, to be female now. Everybody has their own struggles, but this was specific in regards to Little Women. How do women survive or live, for that matter, if they're not their self, if they're somebody else's property? How does that work? Speaking of which, in regards to having slave conversations, that was the point of the Civil War. That way they're no longer somebody else's property. It was a thing that I really liked too. Now that we're talking about this, I loved everything of Timothy Chalamet's Teddy Lawrence. Teddy Laurie is Timothy Chalamet, and it was just the movements, the body language, the sarcasm, but the sincerity. It just works so well. He's a fantastic artist in general. I loved him, but it was really cool seeing him play that character. But there's a moment, it was in the beginning. Joe is at this ale house in New York City after visiting the volcano press that she was trying to go to. And the German professor, Friedrich, who lives in the boarding house with her, who she winds up, kissing at the train station at the end, of course. They start, she starts dancing with somebody else, and then, they're all starting to dance together, but all different ethnicities were drinking and dancing and having a good time and laughing and sharing stories and play fighting and enjoying each other's company at this New York ale house. And it was time period. So it's 1870s, 1880s when this particular scene is happening, 1870s when this is happening. And it brought a sense of melting pot realization, and that's why New York is always superior in regards to the mixing of cultures, because you go to one restaurant that's one culture, you walk a block away, and there's a whole different culture, a whole different experience, and it's all together. It's all one unit. It's a pure definition of we, not me, and it's really beautiful to see it now. It's beautiful to see it then, but it's really cool to see that as a historical document in regards to seeing this as it was portrayed. All these different people from all these different cultures, from all these different walks of life, from all these different social statuses, from all these different race, ethnicities, and religious aspects are having the time of their lives together with music and dance. And it was just so cool. It was a pure moment of we, not me, and I loved seeing it. I loved seeing it within that, in regards to that particular time period, especially when the Civil War had just ended. A good celebration of all of that, coming togetherness, abolition of slavery, positivity moving forward. What happens next? It's very neat seeing these things. I love the whole taking the carriage to the train station at the end in the pouring rain, stopping Friedrich from getting on the train. Is very romantic. But Louisa's story is very self-autobiographical. She is very much Joe, and it's very cool knowing that. It's cool seeing that as well, and to have a lot of the ending story being Joe talking with a publisher about what happens next. Well, the character can't do this. Well, the character can't do that. And she herself as the character. So it's very meta having the story direct. Greta did a fantastic job doing this. Um, Fantastic job doing this. She is an amazing breath of fresh air within the industry. I still haven't seen Barbie yet because I know I'm going to absolutely love it. I want to study it. I don't want to watch it. I want to study it as I just did this Greta Gerwig project. But I'm amazed with this adaptation. I'm amazed with the 94 adaptation. I'm amazed with the 2005 adaptation. I need to read the original source material. I need to read the original book that came out in the 1880s, and I need to read it, and I need to understand how the story is told, what specific plots and scenes and dialogue are actually used continuing on. I want to see other adaptations on it. I know there's TV films throughout the decades. I know there's different stage production throughout the decades, throughout the different centuries. I need to see it all. I don't know how, but I need to see it all. I want to see another version of the '05 musical because that is just such a wonderful, wonderful thing. And just Joe holding her book at the end. And in my head, I have the song playing, the "Sometimes When You Dream, Your Dreams Come True" from the show. So it's just it just playing in my head, and it's just wonderful. I love it. Absolutely love it. Absolutely love it. Christmas scenes were awesome. That was the point of watching the Little Women films in our Christmas reviews because a lot of the stories take place at Christmas time. Wonderful, 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 wonderful. Little Women 2019. On to the next review. Mucho mahalo.